I don't know how close it actually was ever. Only maybe the Jazz would know that. And even within the Jazz organization, you may have people who would different. But the Knicks and Jazz had gotten to some stage where there was some progress, some traction, and it was a wrecking ball hit when the Knicks and Jazz wouldn't come to terms. I don't know who said no. I don't know if it was the Knicks that said no or the Jazz that said no. And Knicks went ahead and signed RJ Barrett to a contract extension on Monday. That created an incredible amount of animus between the two organizations. I definitely felt it in talking to people over the last 24 hours. I will tell you that even though I felt that there was some scar tissue there, I was saying it's only August 31st, September 1st. That doesn't mean that they're not going to do a deal. Even though RJ Barrett was under now a poison pill contract, I didn't think it was impossible for him to get traded or for the Knicks to eventually do a deal with the Jazz. But obviously the Jazz felt like they needed to move on and do this deal with the Cavs. Bontemps, we will not know about how this is going to work out for the Jazz for a while till we see where those Cavs picks fall. But the Jazz deciding to drop what they could get from the Knicks and go with the Cavs and trade Donovan Mitchell into a team that is probably going to be pretty formidable for the short to medium term. There was some emotions in this trade to go do this trade on September 1st.
Yes and no. I mean, I think obviously, we saw earlier this week, in our colleague Adrian Wojnarowski's reporting that the two sides had, the Knicks had set this deadline on Monday. We're either going to extend RJ Barrett or we're going to have him in a trade right now. Obviously, the Knicks extended him. Ironically, Leon Rose had a quote tweeted out by the Knicks account about how excited they were to extend RJ Barrett 3 minutes before Adrian's tweet about the Cavs acquiring Donovan Mitchell in this blockbuster trade this afternoon. Certainly an interesting juxtaposition there. But I think beyond that, look, what did we spend the whole pod that came out this morning talking about? Is that ultimately, when you look at this deal, what is it that the Jazz wanted to get out of this deal? It was to get a mountain of draft capital going forward. We saw when they made the Rudy Gobert trade, where they got essentially 5 first-round picks for a bunch of expiring contracts going forward, they're prioritizing getting as much draft capital as possible and tearing this thing down to the studs. And as we've went through this whole process, the Knicks have had the most capital to put in a trade from a draft standpoint. And we've also consistently heard the Knicks were not willing to put in all of that draft capital, or even at times necessarily a lot of it, because they thought they were in the catbird seat in terms of getting Donovan Mitchell. And to me, Cleveland looked at this like Minnesota did, as you pointed out when we talked right before the pod, Brian, said, hey, look, we got a chance to take a huge swing here. We've got Darius Garland. We could pair 2 all-star guards together. We've got 2 bigs, elite defensive bigs, and Evan Mobley and Jared Allen to play behind them that can make up for their defensive deficiencies. We got a chance to take a big step forward in the East. We've got one of the best young cores in the league now. And so they put in 5 unprotected picks, between 3 unprotected first-round picks and 2 unprotected swaps. The bottom line is the Knicks looked at this and played a game of chicken with the Jazz and said, we don't think you guys are going to get the draft capital you want somewhere else, so we're going to wait and do this deal on our terms. The bottom line is the Knicks played that game of chicken and they lost. And maybe in the long term it'll work out for them. Maybe they'll get somebody else down the road. But they have been building up assets to get a star. They had a CAA star sitting there who wanted to play for the Knicks, who had ties to New York, that the franchise had ties on. They're already within their team with Johnny Bryant being there. All these guys, there are 1,000 reasons pointing for Donovan Mitchell going to the Knicks. And ultimately, the Knicks let the pitch go by, and the Cavs stepped up and hit it. And that's why things played out the way they did.
Yeah, we talked yesterday about the Knicks hadn't stuck to a plan in forever. They stuck to this Donovan Mitchell plan. This plan had been 3 years in the making. They stuck to it, and they just didn't execute it at the end. They ended up treating Donovan Mitchell as a want and not as a need. And honestly, I think you can make a justification for that. If they'd have given up what it would have taken to get him, whether it would have been just a mountain of picks plus some young talent, or RJ Barrett and a similar type of picks package as the Cleveland Cavaliers did. I don't think that's something that would have vaulted them into, honestly, having a chance of getting out of the first round. Now, maybe you can say, well, no, but it would have set them up to get another star, so on and so forth. But the other thing here, and everybody I talked to around the league still thought this was going to end up with Donovan Mitchell in Madison Square Garden. But
I thought it was going to be
Danny
that 3 hours ago.
Until I saw Woj's tweet, I thought it was going to. And when I saw the tweet, first thing I did was made sure that there was a blue check mark on that thing. But Danny Ainge sent a clear message that this is about what he wants to do. This is about his vision for the Jazz, and what Donovan Mitchell wanted had absolutely nothing to do with the business that the Jazz did this offseason. And that obviously is a complete 180 from the way that they operated in the previous year and really few years.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.